Stop. Everything you've been taught about being good is a lie. You think kindness protects you? That honesty earns respect? That generosity builds loyalty? Wrong. These are the very traps that make you weak, predictable, and easy to use. Even Machiavelli, the strategist who taught rulers how to survive, warned that blind goodness destroys more leaders than cruelty ever did. In this video, I'll show you what Machiavelli knew, the hidden cost of blind goodness, why people don't respect kindness, they exploit it, and how to flip the script. By the end, you'll know how to turn your goodness from a weakness into your most dangerous weapon. Let's start with the first shocking truth. Number 1. Goodness as exposure. Think about the kindest person you know. Are they truly respected, or are they simply the one everyone calls when they need something? The truth is, being good makes you vulnerable, not secure. When kindness is constant, it becomes predictable. People know you won't fight back. They know you won't say no. They know they can push you around because you're too nice to resist. That's how someone turns into the office doormat, the friend who always pays, the family member who always sacrifices, even when it hurts them. History and workplaces alike show the same pattern. Those who put everyone first are rarely promoted to lead. Why? Because nice people don't look like leaders. They look like servants. And servants aren't respected, they're exploited. When someone is always available to help, their help becomes worthless. When someone never sets boundaries, others keep crossing them. When someone never shows teeth, people assume they don't have any. Goodness becomes weakness the moment it signals to the world that you can be taken advantage of. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." You've been trying to survive as a sheep in a world full of wolves, and that is exactly why you keep getting hurt. Number 2, the generosity trap. The more you give, the less people value it. At first, generosity earns applause, compliments, praise, admiration. But over time, it mutates into expectation. Gratitude fades, and entitlement takes its place. Help someone once, and they're thankful. Help them again, and they're appreciative. Help them 10 times, and it becomes routine. When that help stops, they don't remember the countless times you said yes, they remember the single time you refused. Suddenly, the generous person is recast as selfish. The same dynamic appears everywhere. Children who receive constant gifts quickly stop seeing them as special, it's simply what parents do. Friends who always benefit from favors stop expressing thanks, they begin to assume the help will be there. Colleagues who rely on someone who always stays late don't celebrate the effort, they only notice the rare night that person leaves on time. This is the trap of unchecked generosity. It doesn't create loyalty, it creates dependency. And dependency inevitably turns to resentment when the flow is interrupted. Psychology has a name for this: hedonic adaptation. Humans normalize good treatment so quickly that what once felt generous soon becomes expected. 100 acts of kindness fade into invisibility, a single act of refusal burns into memory. As Machiavelli observed, benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. Scarcity amplifies value. Abundance erases it. Taste better. Scarcity amplifies value. Abundance erases it. Number 3, the mask of virtue. Society doesn't reward reality, it rewards appearances. People don't care if someone is truly good, they care if they seem good. Judgment comes not from the heart, but from the image projected. That is why power requires more than genuine kindness. It requires the ability to wear the mask of virtue while keeping control beneath the surface. The most successful people are not endlessly agreeable. They know when to show mercy, when to show strength, and when to hold back completely. The appearance of virtue often influences more than virtue itself. This is not deception, it is strategy. A surgeon cutting into a patient looks harsh, but in reality saves a life. Leadership works the same way. Sometimes protecting others means saying no, enforcing unpopular rules, or making decisions that seem cruel in the moment but prevent greater harm. Most people fail here. They reveal weakness to enemies, hoping for sympathy, and reserve strength for friends who don't need it. The sharper path is the opposite: project strength where it deters danger, and reserve softness for those who deserve it. Machiavelli captured it perfectly. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Perception is power. If others see weakness, you become weak. If they see strength, you become strong. Number 4, the economics of power. Every action carries a cost. Every favor granted, every yes spoken against one's own will, every hour spent solving other people's problems instead of advancing one's own goals, each of these drains from a limited reserve. Most people never calculate this price. They give endlessly, until they are depleted. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted, bitter, and exploited. Time, energy, and resources are not infinite. They are the true currency of life. To spend them recklessly on others without restraint is not kindness, it is waste. Recognizing this is not selfish, it is mathematics. Unchecked generosity leads to depletion, and a depleted person cannot sustain themselves, let alone support anyone else. Airline safety instructions illustrate this truth with brutal clarity. Put on your own oxygen mask first, then assist others. Ignore this, and both rescuer and victim collapse together. Life follows the same law. Those who burn out in service to others become a burden rather than an asset. Those who endure and achieve understand this principle instinctively. They protect their time. They guard their focus. They ration their energy with precision. This does not make them cruel, it makes them sustainable. A well-guarded resource can be invested where it matters most. A squandered resource benefits no one. History shows that the people who left the greatest mark were not those who tried to satisfy every demand. They were those who refused most requests so they could commit fully to a few that truly mattered. Selective refusal preserved their strength, and that strength was later converted into lasting impact. Machiavelli captured this principle in a single command. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Authority begins not with ruling others but with ruling oneself. A person unable to control their own time, energy, and resources is incapable of commanding respect or loyalty. Leadership begins with discipline over the self, and without that discipline, power is impossible. Number 5, the strategic use of virtue. Mercy, honesty, and generosity are not weaknesses, but neither are they absolutes. These qualities hold power only when applied with precision. A sword displayed on a wall cannot defend a kingdom, yet the same sword, wielded at the right moment, can decide the fate of nations. Virtue works the same way. It must be used deliberately, never carelessly. Goodness has the greatest impact when it is intentional. Mercy shown at the right time prevents chaos. Generosity offered to the right people strengthens alliances. Kindness directed with purpose builds influence that aimless kindness can never achieve. The mistake is to scatter virtue indiscriminately, as if every request, every demand, and every situation deserves the same treatment. Consider the difference. Helping everyone a little spreads resources thin and changes little. Helping the right people deeply creates lasting transformation. Being friendly to all wins shallow approval, but being truly loyal to a select few builds unbreakable trust. Saying yes to everything drains authority. Saying yes powerfully to what aligns with one's vision multiplies authority. This strategic use of virtue achieves 3 results. First, it raises the value of one's help because scarcity creates significance. Second, it concentrates effort, producing deeper, more visible impact. Third, it commands respect, because selectivity signals strength rather than servitude. Machiavelli summarized this principle. The promise given was a necessity of the past, the word broken is a necessity of the present. Circumstances change, and so must decisions. Keeping one promise may mean breaking another. Serving one duty may require denying another. True responsibility often demands choosing effectiveness over sentiment. Sometimes protecting family means being firm with colleagues. Sometimes defending personal goals means disappointing those who seek to exploit time and energy. Strategic virtue accepts this reality. It is not about selfishness, it is about effectiveness. It ensures that goodness remains a force of strength rather than a signal of weakness. Number 6, the illusion of gratitude. Gratitude is temporary. Every favor, every sacrifice, every act of kindness has an expiration date in memory. What begins as "thank you so much" quickly shifts to "you should do this" and then to "why didn't you do this?" Repeated favors stop feeling like gifts and turn into obligations. The first time, appreciation is genuine. The second time, still welcomed but less intense. By the third or fourth time, gratitude is gone, expectation has taken its place. And when help is withheld, the once generous person is suddenly branded selfish. This is human psychology. People adapt to good treatment until it feels ordinary. What was once exceptional becomes the new baseline. In the end, they remember the advantage received, not the kindness behind it. The pattern repeats everywhere: families, friendships, workplaces. The person who always says yes becomes the one expected to say yes. The reliable helper turns into the automatic solution. And when that person finally refuses, it feels like betrayal to those who depended on them. The more consistent the kindness, the less it is valued. The more available the support, the less special it becomes. The more giving without cost, the more it is assumed endless. This is the illusion of gratitude. Doing more good does not make people more thankful, it makes them less. This is not proof of malice, but of human nature. Expectations rise with repetition. To protect value, kindness must be given strategically. Boundaries must exist. Absence must occasionally be felt. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see and few can feel. Past kindness fades from view. What people notice, what they judge, is only what you are doing now." Number 7, results over intentions. The world does not judge motives, it judges outcomes. A person may carry the purest heart and the noblest intentions, but if their actions fail to produce results, those intentions are irrelevant. History does not honor those who merely meant well, it remembers those who accomplished. This is a brutal truth. Being remembered as nice often means being forgotten entirely. What endures is not kindness alone, but the changes created through decisive action. Surface-level goodness offers temporary comfort, while difficult choices forge lasting impact. Consider the parent who disciplines a child. The act may appear harsh, but it instills lessons that shape character. A teacher who enforces strict standards may seem severe, but prepares students for a reality that will not bend for them. A leader who demands more from a team may be called unreasonable, yet in truth strengthens them for challenges ahead. Real goodness is measured not in sentiment but in results. It is about producing positive outcomes, not simply generating positive feelings. This is where most falter. They seek approval instead of effectiveness, comfort instead of growth, temporary peace instead of lasting transformation. Niceness is not the same as goodness. Niceness avoids conflict, goodness resolves it. Niceness tells people what they want to hear, goodness speaks what must be heard. Niceness preserves the status quo, goodness reshapes it. The world has no shortage of pleasant people who achieve nothing. What it lacks are those strong enough to create results that endure. As Machiavelli wrote, the end justifies the means. Misunderstood by many, this does not excuse cruelty, it reveals that intentions alone are worthless if they fail to produce meaningful outcomes. No one lives inside another's heart, they live with the consequences of another's choices. That is why true goodness demands courage, the courage to value effectiveness above popularity, to prioritize what makes things better over what makes people comfortable. In the end, intentions fade into silence. What remains, what defines a legacy, is what was built, what was changed, and what was left behind. Number 8. Legacy and survival. Legacy is not built on niceness. History does not celebrate the merely agreeable, it honors those who endured, prevailed, and converted their survival into lasting change. Try recalling 5 figures remembered purely for being nice. Few, if any, come to mind. But it is easy to recall those who reshaped the world, leaders, innovators, visionaries, many of whom were demanding, unyielding, and difficult to please. Steve Jobs, for example, was rarely described as pleasant. Yet his relentless standards created products that transformed the lives of billions. He is remembered not for his temperament, but for his impact. The lesson is simple. It is better to be remembered for making a difference than to be forgotten for being agreeable. Legacy is not formed by the approval of the moment but by the endurance of results. Most fail to understand this. One cannot leave a mark on the world without first surviving long enough to make one. And survival, whether in business, relationships, or life, requires more than kindness. It demands intelligence, strategy, and toughness. The kindest individuals cannot serve anyone if they are destroyed by exploitation. The most generous cannot provide if they give away everything too soon. The most honest cannot speak if silenced by those who favor lies. Survival must come first. Only then can thriving follow. Only then can legacy be secured. This principle requires protection of the self in order to protect others. It demands building personal strength before lifting anyone else. It insists on endurance, not for selfish gain, but so that goodness can be sustained long enough to matter. True effectiveness is not born of weakness, it is born of resilience and discipline. Those who create lasting positive change are not submissive. They are not pleasers. They are not afraid of conflict, refusal, or difficult decisions. They understand that goodness, stripped of power, becomes fragility. And that real goodness requires strength, the strength to choose when to apply it, and the courage to enforce boundaries that preserve it. Machiavelli captured this reality. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. His meaning was not cruelty for its own sake, but clarity. Respect outweighs affection, impact outweighs popularity, results outweigh feelings. Strength and goodness are not mutually exclusive, they are complementary. But if a choice must be made, strength comes first, for without strength, goodness collapses into weakness, and weakness is always devoured. Goodness without strategy is one of the most dangerous traps. It exposes a person to exploitation, drains energy until nothing remains, builds expectations that can never be met, and ultimately blocks the creation of real impact. Blind generosity, constant availability, and unguarded virtue turn into liabilities. What begins as strength decays into weakness. Strategic goodness changes everything. When directed with intention, it becomes more than kindness, it becomes survival, influence, and power. Controlled generosity creates loyalty instead of entitlement. Measured mercy commands respect rather than pity. Honesty, delivered with precision, shapes outcomes instead of wasting words. Strategy transforms virtue from decoration into weapon, from habit into design. The truth is clear: legacy cannot be built without survival. The kindest cannot help if they are consumed. The most generous cannot sustain if they give too much, too soon. The most honest cannot speak if silenced by those who exploit their openness. Endurance comes first, growth second, legacy last. Strength is what allows goodness to last. Without discipline, kindness fades into fragility. With discipline, it becomes rare, valued, and unforgettable. Weakness makes even noble intentions irrelevant, strength makes goodness decisive. Machiavelli warned that appearances outweigh motives, results outweigh intentions, and respect outweighs affection. Goodness must follow this law. Used without calculation, it dissolves. Used with calculation, it defines. In a world of wolves, survival belongs not to the sheep, but to those who guard their strength and choose carefully when to reveal virtue. That is how goodness stops being a weakness and becomes the sharpest instrument of power. For further insight into these principles, see the playlist Machiavelli on Power as Design, a deeper exploration of how discipline and strategy turn virtue into command.